You're watching The Legal Breakdown. So, Glenn, we've been very closely covering Judge Aileen Cannon, that is the Trump-linked judge who's setting the stage to dismiss Trump's classified documents case down in Florida. But it looks like Trump got a little too cozy because he may have just screwed her over in a big way. Can you talk about what just happened?
Yeah, Trump is like a walking miscalculation, even though I understand everybody is frustrated because it seems like he is forever winning delays and sort of undeserved minor victories in his cases. He still is a walking miscalculation, and accountability will come to Donald Trump in all of his criminal cases. But here's what's going on right now. So Donald Trump is forever threatening judges, right? He's criticizing them. He's calling them names. He's inspiring his supporters to violence against them, to threaten them. Just think about it. Judge Engoron rules against Donald Trump any number of times, and he gets threatened. Judge Chutkan in D.C. rules against Donald Trump, and he gets threatened. Judge McAfee down in Georgia rules against Donald Trump. He gets threatened. Judge Kaplan, who presided over the E. Jean Carroll trials, rules against Donald Trump, and he gets threatened. What just happened? Judge Aileen Cannon, Trump-appointed judge, right? She owes her lifetime appointment to the federal bench to the very defendant over whose case she is presiding, and she just ruled against him. And what did he do? He complimented her. He praised her, and he threatened Jack Smith and said, "You better not say mean things about this fine judge, Judge Aileen Cannon." Huh? Wait a minute. She just ruled against you. She said that I am denying your motion, Donald Trump, to dismiss the case, to dismiss all 32 espionage charges that have been indicted against you based on your claim that the Presidential Records Act is a complete defense and I should just dismiss the indictment. I rule against you. And Donald Trump praised her. Okay, that's not exactly keeping in line with how Donald Trump reacts to judges who rule against him. So what's going on here? Well, we all know exactly what's going on because Judge Cannon tipped her hand in a two-page ruling. Here's what she said. And I know this one, we have to kind of follow the bouncing ball of injustice to kind of unravel what's going on here. Judge Cannon in a two-page ruling said, all right, defendant Trump, I'm ruling against you. I deny your motion to dismiss, but only for now. Here's what I'm going to do, Donald. I can revisit your motion to dismiss once we're in trial, after the jury's been sworn and jeopardy attaches. And remember, Donald, if I dismiss your case after the jury is impaneled while we're in trial, Jack Smith can't appeal it, and you get away with all those crimes entirely. And if I were to dismiss your case now, in a pre-trial setting, Jack Smith could appeal it, and the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals would undoubtedly reverse me and might even remove me from the case. So I'm denying your motion right now, but keep an eye out and she says this. She says, I'm really not prepared to resolve this issue until after evidence is presented and Trump has had an opportunity to put on his defense. In other words, during the trial itself, when she can do maximum damage to the cause of justice. And Donald Trump praises her. Well, guess what? That praise, Brian, feeds into the disqualification argument that I think has to be made sometime soon by special counsel Jack Smith. He's got to file the motion to remove her because she cannot sit fairly and impartially. And I think Donald Trump has helped Jack Smith's cause on that front by now praising her when he condemns all other judges who rule against him.
Now, Glenn, we've spoken about the bucket that Jack Smith needs to fill to be able to go to the 11th Circuit and say, look, here's X, Y, Z, all of the reasons that I think that Judge Cannon should be removed. And if he has enough of a rationale, then they would presumably take it up. Does this, in your opinion, feel like enough for that justification to actually be followed through with? Does he have enough of a rationale to be able to remove her from the case with not only the previous interferences that she's done on his behalf? I believe there were two before the trial, before this case even began in earnest. But now we also have this effort by her to completely pervert the Presidential Records Act, and now Donald Trump applauding her for kind of doing his bidding.
Yes, this is enough. I think the disqualification bucket runneth over. I really do. And, I usually just sort of stand on my own analysis, given what I learned over the course of 30 years as a federal prosecutor. But I have been watching all of my fellow legal analysts, so many of whom I have such respect for. And, we talk behind the scenes and we, bounce questions off one another. And I have seen just in the last 24 hours or so people like Lawrence Tribe, Professor Lawrence Tribe, and Neil Katyal, the former acting Solicitor General for the United States, who's argued as many or more Supreme Court cases than anybody else. And folks like Joyce Vance have gone on record. These folks are saying, there is enough to make the motion to remove her, a motion to recuse. And, I do think opinion in the legal community, again, I'm kind of loath to talk about sounding like Donald Trump. Many people are saying that, I'm the best thing ever. But I do think there is a legal opinion that is coalescing out there that, the motion needs to be made. And we need to see this litigated in the full light of day. Jack Smith needs to present all of the evidence that proves that Aileen Cannon cannot sit fairly, impartially, and independently and preside over Donald Trump's case, given everything that she has done thus far, and let the chips fall. Once you have enough evidence to bring the motion and argue the motion, you need to make the motion. There is no such thing as a guaranteed win, but I do think the disqualification bucket is full, is overflowing, and this is something that I think the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals needs to resolve, because if this issue is never litigated, the case goes through the entire trial, maybe Judge Cannon dismisses charges, maybe she doesn't. I don't think the American people will be in a position to have confidence in the verdict or in the outcome of the trial if somebody who is so obviously compromised, biased, and not impartial is the one who's presided over the trial. And what we need, Brian, is faith in the outcome of all criminal trials, because if you don't have the public crediting the outcome of cases, the whole system begins to crumble.
And I also want to get a little meta here for a moment, because we did speak to the audience a couple of episodes ago and kind of explain that, like, while there was a lot of frustration from people who watched the videos that nothing really seems to be happening, or that Donald Trump keeps getting the delays that he's seeking, the reason that we do this is to try to add into the political environment, is to add into the media narrative, basically, what we think we should see, what we think should happen. And Glenn's been beating this drum for weeks now that there is enough evidence for Jack Smith to go to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals and say, look, we're not going to get a fair shake at this trial if we have this judge. She's already proven time and time again that she's not willing to preside over this case fairly. And so I think, there is a lot of importance in, even if it seems like we're not doing anything, even if it seems like we're shouting into the void on a daily basis, to keep introducing this kind of a narrative out there, because eventually people start to pick up on it. And now, to your point, I've seen it too, where it feels like we have a ton of people in the legal community, on Twitter, on TV, who are saying that, look, the fix is in, and the only option for Jack Smith here is to seek Judge Cannon's removal if we want any shot at a fair shake at this.
Yeah, my mantra on my YouTube channel is justice matters, and it really does. And I have people, our viewers, who will message me all the time saying, Glenn, justice doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter. To which I try to respond, it does matter. And the fact that you feel the searing injustice of this tells me that it matters to you too, or you wouldn't be outraged. You wouldn't be upset. You wouldn't be frustrated, because it does matter, and it has to matter. And even when we see injustice going on all around us, we have to push the point, the reality, the fact, the non-negotiable, that justice does matter, and we have to fight for it, we have to strive for it, and we have to highlight how things are supposed to work in a just criminal justice system, in a just and fair society, democracy, because if people don't have that frame of reference regarding how things are supposed to work, then they're going to be less inclined to see the injustice going on all around them. And if we don't see it and we don't call it out, then goodness knows we're not going to be able to make progress, and we're not going to be able to fix it moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, like we can call out things every single day, and 9 times out of 10 they might not work, but if 1 time out of 10 they do make a difference, they do start to influence the way that the narrative is shaking out, then it was worth it, right? So with that said, Glenn, I do have one more question. Is there any reason why federal prosecutors would go through all the work of preparing this case for trial, go through the years worth of interviews and figuring out evidence and preparing for trial in this classified documents case, knowing that the fix is in, and not seek her removal?
No, other than, we make sort of real-time assessments, moment by moment, piece of evidence by piece of evidence, about the prospect of winning any particular motion we bring. And I can promise you, Jack Smith and his team have been involved in that minute-by-minute calculation. The only reason to decline to file a motion to remove a judge under these circumstances would be, one, if we didn't have a good faith belief that we had enough evidence to make a straight-faced argument, a colorable argument, even a strong argument.
Well, it's definitely not that
loser,
one. Yeah, this definitely doesn't apply to that.
It doesn't, but that would be one of the reasons. The other reason is, okay, we think we've got enough evidence to make a compelling argument, but we don't want to incur the wrath of the judge. We don't want to turn her against us. We don't want to inspire even more animosity directed at us and our case, because that will hurt our prospects of winning a conviction and holding the defendant accountable for the crimes he committed. But I don't think that argument holds water in this instance either, because I don't believe Judge Cannon could show any more animosity or antagonism toward Jack Smith, the case he has brought, and the prosecutors who are pursuing accountability in that case. So again, for every conceivable reason, including the need for the American people to have confidence in the outcome of this trial, the motion's got to get filed.
Yeah, I mean, you say it yourself all the time, pressure bursts pipes. So I think we should continue to hammer away at this reality that Judge Cannon won't be a fair arbiter of justice in this case. She's proven as much, and she is signaling what she will do if she's able to stay on the bench, and that is to basically set the stage to dismiss this case because of some bogus notion that would feed right into Donald Trump's, fairy tale of what the Presidential Records Act is. So, we'll continue hammering away at this. For those watching right now, if you want to continue to watch our coverage of this, please make sure to subscribe. The links to both of our channels are right here on this screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.